This is the office of the LA District Attorney, the person charged with enforcing the city's laws, with containing criminals, with preserving the peace. 4 years ago, in the heat of our national racial reckoning, LA decided to give that job to this man, George Gascon.
We have to get rid of systemic racism that has been keeping black and brown people down for one generation after another.
Gascon denounced the state's tough laws as a failure.
Los Angeles is a poster child for the failed tough on crime approach.
And he turned the summer's slogans into hard law, expansively re-engineering how crime is punished in LA. He stopped prosecuting crime.
Our communities are safer when we do not prosecute some of these cases. In fact,
And he emptied jails.
we have to start scaling back the levels of incarceration that we engage in.
Los Angeles has been running a pure experiment in racial justice reform. We're here to see how it's been going, to watch Gascon's vision collide with reality. October 16th, 2019. That day, Jackie Lacy, the sitting district attorney of LA, announces her re-election campaign. Her chief antagonist is a woman named Melina Abdullah, the head of the local chapter of Black Lives Matter.
District Attorney Jackie Lacy has to go. We have to vote her out.
Melina hosts daily protests outside her office
We're here to say Jackie Lacy must go.
and follows her home, blasting neon light into her bedroom. In the 1950s, Jackie Lacy's parents, suffocating under the Jim Crow laws of Georgia, sold the family cow to buy a ticket to Los Angeles.
My parents came to escape the discrimination and racism that was going on in the South.
Jackie grows up in Crenshaw, a poor, mostly black area just south of downtown Los Angeles. Mid-century Crenshaw is an industrial incubator of gang violence, shootouts, robberies, endless turf beefs.
I grew up in LA in the Crenshaw district where crime was a real concern. I thought everybody had bars on their windows and doors.
After law school, Jackie immediately goes to work as a prosecutor.
People assume, why would a black person want to be a prosecutor? And yet I'm a little offended. I came from this very community. I'm just as qualified as anybody else to determine what is justice.
Jackie Lacy becomes both the first black person and the first woman to ever run this office. And in 2014, this daughter of Crenshaw, born of Jim Crow exiles, oversees the safest year in the history of Los Angeles. October 28th, 2019, a man named George Gascon announces he will run against Jackie Lacy. Gascon precisely channels Black Lives Matter orthodoxy.
Policing evolves from slave catching.
But policing in this country started is to catch slaves and bring them back.
Policing literally evolves out of slave catching.
Our criminal legal system is deeply embedded in the institution of slavery.
And designed to keep people in cages, to keep people targeted.
Our system is extremely racist, and it was assigned that way, right?
Jails and prisons, they're not reformable.
The system is not reformable. The system is doing what it was designed to do. The system is not reformable. The system is doing what it was designed to do.
I mean, do you think the system is systematically racist?
No, it's not. In fact, it's just the opposite. When I joined the DA's office in the 90s, it was completely different from today. I mean, violent crime was 200% higher than it is today. Unfortunately, we won because Los Angeles and cities all across America became much safer because we had a tough on crime approach. I'm not saying it was a perfect approach, but if the goal was to lower crime, save lives, make communities safer, it worked. But to suggest that we go from what was successful and made us safer to the extreme of abolishing jails, abolishing prosecuting agencies, that's absurd.
Gascon had previously run the DA's office up north, in San Francisco, where he systematically imposed this literally liberatory vision. He granted early release to thousands of prisoners.
We have to start scaling back the levels of incarceration that we engage in.
He slashed punishments for felonies and simply stopped prosecuting many misdemeanors.
Our communities are safer when we do not prosecute some of these cases. In fact,
he then relocates to Los Angeles to run for the biggest district attorney gig in the country.
Very different being black in America than it being white. I have established myself as someone, unlike Ms. Lacy, that have been very outspoken about changing the law.
And in January 2020, George Gascon and Jackie Lacy meet for their first and only in-person debate.
We are hoping that the audience allows us to continue asking questions.
Many innocent people have been shot by stray bullets involving gangs. My father painted over graffiti in his front yard on a telephone box, and a week later, somebody drove by and shot him. He lived. That by the time it comes to me, and people have made bad decisions, which requires the prosecutor to respond.
Jackie Lacy comes in first place in the primary, notching in just 2 points shy of winning 50% of the vote, which would have let her skip a general election.
He was on pace to not just lose, but lose big.
You can't win, man.
To Philadelphia, protests surged across the world.
Coming together with a call.
Now, kneel.
What they're demanding in Minneapolis is the same thing we're demanding here in Los Angeles.
Our racial reckoning unlocks limitless treasure.
People that we were calling and often would not return the calls. After the murder of George Floyd, they started returning calls.
Gascon is flooded with checks from Netflix founder Reed Hastings, Warner Brothers boss Channing Bundy, and Steven Spielberg. George Soros donates $2 million, prompting matching donations from other high-powered philanthropists.
We give to organizations, particularly with a focus on racial justice. We really support people of color.
We're really excited about criminal justice reform. Criminal justice reform in the US, that's an area that's incredibly important.
Gascon raises $15 million, triple Lacy's fundraising. And that haul underwrites an all-city advertising assault.
Jackie Lacy is using fear to manipulate you.
So where are rapists going? Where are people who murder go?
We've heard this before.
They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime.
Los Angeles, don't be fooled.
And the Hollywood elite showers Gascon with endorsements.
I need a little help. I can't do it alone. I need a little help, y'all.
When I listen to wealthy people theorize about, you don't need to send people away for prison, I think to myself, well, they're not coming to your neighborhood.
The day before the election, Melina Abdullah leads a group of BLM protesters on an early morning demonstration outside Jackie's house. Melina goes to her front door, rings the doorbell, and Jackie's husband comes to the door with a gun.
I will shoot you. Get off of my porch.
Pointed it directly at my chest and I said, "Good morning."
Get off of my porch right now.
A tense confrontation today. Pointed a gun at Black Lives Matter protesters.
After pointing a gun at protesters.
Obviously, that was that was an inappropriate use of a firearm.
It seems like what they like is to embarrass me and intimidate me. I just want to live in peace and do my job.
Gascon wins.
Holy One, you who created the world and every being in it with love. In the midst of this great pain, now we're blessed with new leadership that affirms in word and deed that Black lives matter.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
So beginning today, we're instituting a series of policies based on data and science, not fear and emotion.
Within a matter of minutes, Gascon issues a series of special directives, his pure vision imposed directly on the people of Los Angeles. He starts by targeting enhancements. Enhancements allow prosecutors to refine their charges to properly reflect the specifics of a crime. There's the base level offense, robbery, rape, assault. And then the enhancements, which capture key details which make the offense even worse. Brandishing a gun, fueled by drugs, participating in gang activity. These enhancement layers lead to stiffer penalties.
When George Gascon took office, he said, we're not going to do that anymore. All of these crimes, for all intents and purposes, are going to be treated the same. Every robbery, whether it was a simple push and grab, purse snatch, or whether someone put a gun to another person's head, would all be treated the same way.
Gascon's attack on enhancement extends to a core innovation of California's criminal code, the 3 strikes law. Strikes are especially egregious crimes. Committing a third one automatically leads to a life sentence, permanent extraction from society.
George Gascon essentially nullified the 3 strikes law in Los Angeles County. He said, we're not going to use it anymore.
Gascon also directs his team to cease prosecuting about a dozen different misdemeanor crimes.
Loitering, drinking in public, public intoxication, possession of drugs and paraphernalia, and more. My office will immediately stop filing a variety of first-time misdemeanor offenses. I ask you to walk with me. I ask you to join me on this journey.
Looting now underway.
Robberies in broad daylight.
Violent robberies on the rise.
Stealing more than $300,000 worth of merchandise.
Trouble in paradise.
An alarming increase in follow home robberies.
Gangsters and criminals are not stupid. So if you basically announce, we're not going to have any enhancements. If you bring a gun, you don't get any extra penalty for it. Guess what? People now bring guns.
Pulled a gun on 2 men.
They got out of the car with guns pointed at her.
A gun held to their heads.
Over the 4 years of Gascon's term, almost every category of crime has steadily increased, with the sharpest upticks in shoplifting, car thefts, and robberies.
There have been a number of reported examples of inmates talking about the Gascon effect.
Hey, you know who that was? Andrew, you know who that was? Gascon's office. Oh my God. We never heard district attorney be on our side.
And they love him.
Some white lightning, the little cup, boom. Salute. Celebrating us going home on this Gascon direct. Oh.
George Gascon got in there and said, listen, I personally don't like strikes. I don't like enhancements. I don't care what the law is. We're not going to file any, and I'm going to make my lawyers dismiss the ones that are already out there. The people who pay the freight for those decisions are not the Hollywood actor living in Malibu. They're not the wealthy venture capitalist living in Brentwood. They're not the tech guy living in Manhattan Beach. Someone needs to ask them, where do you think those people go who are not prosecuted? Who do you think they victimize?
Down here at the far end of the 10 freeway, miles and miles away from movie stars and moguls, is El Monte. In the summer of 2022, a man named Justin Flores checks into this motel. Flores was a career criminal, boasting 19 criminal cases in 16 years, including residential burglary, which is classified as a strike under 3 strikes law. One step closer to permanent extraction. In mid-2020, Flores is caught with a gun and drugs. Given the strike on his record, Flores is supposed to be subjected to an enhancement for this offense, giving him at least 32 months in jail. But Gascon demands that enhancement be ignored, and Flores gets just 20 days in jail and is released.
Justin Flores was out because George Gascon ordered his prosecutor to dismiss a strike. Given his history, he's the kind of person that should not have been on the street. Any competent prosecutor would tell you that.
Within a couple days, Flores' mother calls a probation officer to warn that he's fallen into a meth-induced psychosis. On June 12th, Flores' girlfriend calls the El Monte police and tells them they're holed up in this room, and he's stabbing her with a knife. The call goes out to this squad car, containing Sergeant Michael Paredes and Officer Joseph Santana. Paredes is an El Monte native, married to his high school sweetheart. Officer Santana has spent less than a year on the force. He's also married to his high school sweetheart. Santana gets shot before he gets to the door. Flores wrestles Paredes to the ground and shoots him in the head.
He was a great son, husband, father, friend, and police officer.
I say, oh, I'm
Look, we are at a historic moment, and there are people that are uncomfortable with the efforts that are being moved forward in many parts of our communities in order to get us to a better place.
Reality has rendered a verdict on the dreams of George Gascon. His rise was fueled by the toxic naivete of the elite. People with the luxury to dream of a world without laws, without prisons. And their righteous dreams, once turned into real law, are now melting neighborhoods they'll never see, filled with people they'll never meet.
I need a little help. I can't do it alone. I need a little help. Come on, come on. Hey, wake up, everybody. No more sleeping bed. Wake up.
There's a lot more work ahead of us, and we need to keep George Gascon in office now more than ever.